Hello, we're here with another Porch Chat with Scott, and I'm here with the patient Zero. He's not feeling well today, but I'm gonna let him say his intro. Oh, child, now he's going in for the theatrics. Go on and say good morning, lead his thought, whatever it is you say.
Oh, you didn't let me say that the last time.
You did say it.
You're like, this is not your...
But you had already said it, so go ahead.
I don't know how good the day is because I'm feeling so under the weather. But good day thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig, the writer Stewart.
And I am Scott, and we are here doing a porch chat. And we're going to talk about the seasons are changing. And a couple weeks ago, I had not been myself, I'm going to say. Craig had been inviting me to do stuff, and I kept, hemming and hawing and canceling, and I just was not in a good mood. And then I realized after doing that a few times, and Craig said, here he go. When me backing out of stuff, I was like, I think I'm a little depressed.
You did say that in the text.
And I was like, and so I realized that I deal with this yearly, but it comes at weird times, and it's not like a scheduled thing. So, and then I have an epiphany, and I realize that I'm dealing with seasonal affect disorder. Like the time is changing, it's getting darker earlier, and everything is changing. The leaves are falling, it's getting colder, and it shifts my mood. And I wanted to, we wanted to just kind of talk about it because I don't think most people are aware of that. I'm aware of it because I have depression, but I don't think most people recognize. You've dealt with that a little bit too.
I've had depression, yes, but not seasonally.
Oh, okay.
Like, I know, like, some people around the holidays in particular.
Yeah.
Which, of course, most of the major holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, fall in the winter months when daylight saving has happened.
Yeah.
So it is darker earlier.
Yeah.
Or they experience it because they've lost a loved one.
Family.
A mother, a grandmother, a husband, whatever, child, around those holidays. So the holidays are always a dark time for them.
Well, and those commercials that remind you of family, it just sends you in a downward spiral.
And even going into stores.
Yeah. The music
and the decorations.
Yes.
And, so like even from the time Halloween happens, it's already Christmas.
Yeah.
And you're going in stores and that really puts people into a depression. But that's part of the reason that they're talking about getting rid of daylight savings as well, because it affects a lot of people's mood.
But the bad part about it, my mom and I had a conversation about it because she wasn't aware that they were talking about doing that. And she immediately said, well, the kids will be up, like it'll be dark as I don't know what when the kids are waiting for the school bus. And I'm like, that's kind of true. Like it's already dark, but it'll be like nighttime dark when the kids are going to school if we don't fall back.
Yeah.
Which is a little scary. I mean, they're standing out there by themselves in most cases, like I used to.
Well, why they don't just stop it when the time springs ahead? Because
when it springs ahead, we're not on daylight savings time.
Oh, okay, so it has to be once it
right.
Back.
Yeah. Okay. We go off of daylight savings time. And
then also, there are a lot of countries that don't do daylight saving.
There are even states. Like Arizona only does it, I think, half the time or something weird.
But I know, like, for example, in parts of Europe, like France, for example, sometimes we're six hours ahead.
Yeah.
Is it ahead or behind?
Ahead.
And then sometimes of the year we're 7 hours ahead because,
I'm sorry, they are ahead. We're behind.
Right, we're behind. Sorry. So then other times a year we're 7 hours behind because our time changed. Yeah. And they don't have that.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a real thing, and I think a lot of times people don't really discuss it, they don't really talk about it, and they just kind of
push through,
internalize it,
or people just like you were saying, like here he go, like, and I don't think people like I wasn't aware that I kept doing that, and then I was like, I think I'm just like not. I find comfort in my house and like just being in my bed or on my sofa, and it's a slippery slope because I work from home mostly, and you will look up and weeks have gone by and you ain't left the house just because you got Instacart, you got DoorDash. You don't have to go anywhere.
Or you just cooking at the house.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
or you entertaining at home because you've invited us over for dinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then you don't always have to go out.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, you have all these conveniences in your house.
Right. Yeah. And
But
it's scary.
I always wonder, like, people who don't have a network, though. People who don't have a tribe. Like, what do they do? Like, does it extend beyond the season?
I think people suffer in silence. Like, because I think that people, particularly people that are loners and introverted, and God forbid those people work at home also, because then they really are suffering in silence.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad and scary. I watched this movie and it kind of sent me in a little bit of a downward spiral. It's called My Policeman with Harry Styles, and I meant to text you and Carlton about it. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's about this man who's a policeman, and he is dating this woman, but he is having I'm not going to go into all the details of it.
What is it on?
It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And so in the beginning, he and this woman are married, and she invites a friend of theirs to live with them because they're elderly at this point. They're like in their 60s. He is the friend of theirs is.
Can I just say how that sounds so weird to say that in their 60s they're elderly?
Well, I mean,
because when I think of 60, I'm thinking of Angela.
Well, I mean, I think we will be a different 60.
I think so too.
Like
y'all might be elderly at 60.
Well, I mean, elderly in the sense that you could be retired, and they are retired. Yeah. They live by the sea.
They're seniors.
Yeah, they're seniors. They're in the late part of their life. I'll say that.
The winter.
Of their discontent.
Right. So they're now seniors.
They invite this man who has had a stroke to live with them because he's a friend of theirs, as a couple friend. So the man is against it. He doesn't want anything to do with him. And so I watched this man, and that's all I'm going to tell you about the movie. But I watched this movie thinking to myself, that's going to be me. I'm going to be the man that has to move in with some couple.
Wendell and Steven.
With some couple. I might be moving in with you and Carlton.
True. But wait a minute. I want to know why he doesn't want him to move with them.
Well, that's revealed in the story. And so I can't really tell you that. Right.
That's a big
it's implied already.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's layers.
But you have said that before. You said you and Steven and Wendell gonna get a house, or y'all gonna be living in like...
Oh, no. We ain't talking about getting a house. We talked about buying like an estate,
right,
and putting like little cottages on the
property,
so we could have like a compound,
right,
and then we could hire like a cleaning lady that comes and cleans in
all the places,
right, exactly, yeah. And we have like a pool that would be like our community pool, or all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what the white gays do in Palm Springs.
Truly, yeah.
To a degree.
And I love Palm Springs, to be honest.
I've never been.
It's honestly, I'm gonna say this but it's gonna sound like I'm being offensive, but I don't mean it in an offensive way. I call it the Isle of Misfit Toys. Do you remember that?
I never saw that.
Okay, so that's from I forget. Is it?
He forgets I'm a little younger than he is.
Yeah, well, but it's one of those claymation Christmas movies where the boy is making the toys, and all the toys that are irregular toys. They get sent to the island.
I remember that.
Is it Santa Claus is coming?
That's the Santa Claus. Yeah, and they look like little puppets.
Yeah, exactly. They have things wrong with them.
Yeah.
So I call it that because when you go there, these men they're very friendly, but they all are like, it's like the land that time forgot, because They are overly coiffed.
Botox
They are
for days.
tan. They have their
Overly tan.
their shirts open with 18 gold chains.
They trying to hold on to
and
anybody that they have.
They are the friendliest men. Like you will go and they will buy you drinks and talk to you till they are blue in the face. And they're just. I always have a really good time.
I've never been. I keep saying I want to go.
It's a lot of fun. And so I say all that to say it's like when you talk to them, you discover that they are all the old Hollywood makeup artists and hair designers and clothing designers.
And they just retired.
And they have moved to Palm Springs and they live there and they live well. Like everything is, the houses are not cheap, but everything else, like to eat and to go out and have a good time, is dirt cheap. Like they have these places, like we go to breakfast at this place, I can't remember the name of it, but they have bottomless mimosas and the breakfast is like $10.
Really?
For bottomless, like you could sit there and just drink all freaking day.
Right.
Anyway, so.
You know, it's interesting because that kind of lends itself to a conversation that I was having with Torrance yesterday. Torrance came over.
Okay.
And I don't even know how we got on the subject. Oh, he was talking about this trans woman. I was going to say girl, but she's 23. This trans woman that works with him. And he was just saying how... Anyway, he was talking about that. And he said in the conversation that she was adopted. She was put up for adoption, and she just recently met her birth mom. And I said, I wonder how that went.
Wow.
And I said, I wonder if her birth mom is a person that would have been okay with their child being trans, or did the birth mom say, "Ooh, thank God I dodged the bullet." You know what I mean? Like I literally, the writer in me just wanted to know that. And so he was like, no, she said that it went really well. So anyway, that conversation turned into, if you had children, would you be okay if your children were trans? Would you be okay if your children were gay? And I said to him, I said, baby, Carlton and I have these conversations all the time. Oh, I'm so nasally. We have these conversations all the time, and we always say, well, if we have kids, if one of our kids ended up gay or trans, how would you feel? Or special needs. So like we talked about all of that.
Because you never know. Well, particularly like the special needs, I think that they can see in when you have your
sonograms and stuff.
Right, exactly.
But so Torrance and I started having that conversation. Like, would you prefer your child be gay or not gay?
Oh.
And the reason why it lends itself to this conversation is because we were saying how getting older as a gay person.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say if you had children and you could choose? What would you?
I can honestly say I would not care. I would hope that my child, if they were gay, I would hope, while that whole premise makes me a little melancholy, it also, I recognize how grateful I am in the sense that I do have a tribe. I do have a community that I have worked very hard to build and maintain. And I understand that everyone does not have that. So I would hope that if my child were gay, that they would have the skills to build a community and understand how to nurture and foster all relationships, whatever they are. And that would be my hope. I can't say that I would particularly care about their sexuality. Because you could have a straight person and they be a homicidal maniac or something. Like who knows?
And it's interesting because I said to Torrance, ultimately, I would just want a well-rounded, fully formed, well-developed human being. Right. You know what I mean? That avoids, that navigates the world in a way that he or she doesn't experience a lot of emotional pain in relationships or in friendships or
give it.
Or that too. Yeah. And so I said, but if I had to choose, I would probably choose that my child is not gay, in particular a gay boy. And so,
is there a reason?
Yeah. And so Torrance was like, I agree with everything you just said. So I said to him, I of course know, because I've seen couples and I've experienced it. Oh God.
Oh, you had dry throat or something?
Yes.
Yeah. So if I turn up sick, this is why.
So I know that it's possible to have a loving relationship
Sure.
and just all those things. But just based on what I've experienced, what I've seen,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want my kids to have to have to figure that out. But then I said to Torrance, I said one of the things that Carlton and I always talk about, by the time we would have kids, that could be anywhere from 5 to 10 years. By then, the world would be a little softer in terms of children going to school, because there are a lot of like same-sex parents now with the kids in school, and it's more diversity.
I have a question though, like, so because from my outside eyes looking in, it seems that all kids nowadays are disconnected from one another.
Yeah.
Straight or gay.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they, because their heads are buried in their phones.
Tablets.
They don't like, I was watching something, somebody was at a club. I think I was like flipping through Instagram or something, and everybody in the club was on their phone.
That's the worst.
And music was playing, and I was like, how do these kids even have fun? Like, they are...
I don't even understand, like, when you go out to a restaurant and you see, like, a party, a dinner party, or a birthday, and, like, most of the people at the table are
on the phone. Yeah.
It's like, your people are right here. Why are you on the phone?
Why are you on the phone?
That's the weirdest thing.
When we were at...
that restaurant? Me, you, and Carlton?
No, me, you, for Elliot's birthday, when we were down in Sandy, and that whole group of like, a lot of them...
They were on their phone?
They were, but they were they were doing, like, Instagram stuff, but they were loud, too.
Yeah, I did notice they were loud. But I also understand that, this stuff can happen to anybody, you know what I mean? And I said, I would be afraid, if my child was, born a gay male, that it may be a little difficult to find a long-term partnership or somebody to grow older with, and just to have this, or even to have kids, to have a support system when he is older to help take care of him. But Torrance said, I think about that too. He said, but then I said to him, but also as a gay man, I know that I will be able to give my son the tools. I can put him on game.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So so ultimately,
but I think
would
it's
just
all a
want
crapshoot.
It is.
Because even if the child is straight, again, like, you don't know, like, they may be a sociopath. Like, I mean, even if they're gay, they could be a sociopath.
Right.
But they could be so devoid and detached from all feeling that you just don't, like, they may not want nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's right.
So
that's right.
You
it's
just
such a
never know.
crapshoot with when you're having kids.
Yeah, exactly. Which is really one of the beauties of having children, because you can form their thought process and their value system, I think, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But if they are a sociopath, like, you don't have any control over that.
Good night. But yeah. But all being just staying connected to this whole idea of seasonal depression and stuff like that.
All of this is what feeds my seasonal depression. Even the text message you sent this morning to me and Jeff, I was kind of like, I can't even deal. Like, I had to put the phone away. It was affecting me in a really in a dark way. Like, so Craig sent some information about a friend of ours who's not doing very well, and I just could not. Like, I couldn't even respond. Like, Jeff responded and said, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I was feeling the same way, but I just couldn't even, like, process it. I don't want to process it. Because it's taking me to a dark place that I
almost didn't even message you guys to tell you. But I don't know. Because Ryan called me yesterday and told me.
Yeah.
But then this morning, it was just kind of on my heart again.
Yeah. No, I get that. Like, I don't think there's a right or wrong thing to do. I could not.
And here's the thing. I kept putting myself in that position. What if that was me that ran into him in the store?
You would have immediately called us. You couldn't get in the car fast enough.
Right. But then also, I think he probably, because I don't think he knows Ryan. I think he would have probably said something to me. But then I'm wondering if he would have avoided me.
He probably would have avoided you because he's too embarrassed. He's too vain.
Right.
Like, his vanity would have taken.
Like
yeah. Right.
But it's like I would have probably gone up to him if I felt like he was trying to avoid me. I probably would have gone up to him. But I was thinking this morning, like, what really could I have done to help him?
So that was a part of the dark place for me. It's like, well, I would have felt bad, but I also feel like, well, this is indicative of the choices that you have made.
Because
And
happiness doesn't just happen. It's a series
oh
of
my
good
God,
decisions.
that's right.
One after the next.
That's right. And choosing happiness is the most important choice you make.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can sit there and dwell in whatever problems you have, and we all got so plenty.
Mm-hmm.
But or you can choose to focus on all of the good things in your life. And so really, like, that's one of the things that helps me or pulls me out of these kind of dark places, because I have like, there are things that I have problems with,
Mm-hmm.
but there's more things that I have in my life to be grateful for than
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like,
That you
it's
can complain about.
right, then I should be complaining, that I should even feel bad about, really. Because and I
Right.
talked to my therapist about this, about feeling, it's really like a middle class guilt.
You have that?
A little bit. A little bit. I do.
I ain't never felt guilty.
Well, I think I don't want to be offensive, but I don't. There are a lot of things in my life I haven't worked for.
No, I understand what you're saying.
So, like,
No, see, I don't have that.
and so a lot of things I have been given,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't really talk about it a lot, because it does weigh on me sometimes. But
Uh-huh.
I feel, I feel a little guilty sometimes, even though you don't get to choose how the family you're born into,
Mm-hmm.
or the circumstances you're born into. But
Well, wait. Let me go back to the friend and come back to that.
okay,
What part of the reason I thought about it again this morning? Obviously, it weighed on me, but I thought about him because I was like, if I had run into him in the store, what could I have done? Given him
Yes.
a little bit of money,
Yes.
got him something to eat.
would he have accepted it? Because
He
again,
would have
his
accepted
vanity.
He would have accepted the money, I'm sure. But the reason that I thought about it, and even like when you all told me about it before, I almost wanted to reach out to him because, and I thought about this morning. I don't know why this came. As sick as I am, and as in much agony as I was in this morning, I don't know why I thought about this. But I was thinking about how when I first started working with Madison,
Yeah.
he and I were working out at the gym together. We would meet together
Yeah,
at the gym.
I
from
remember
time to
that.
time. And I said to him one day, I don't know how much longer I can work with Madison. And I was in the very beginning of working with her. I was like, I don't really know how long I can work with her. I said, because it's really not paying me a lot of money. I said, it takes a lot of my time.
Is
You
this
know.
when you were doing the show?
No, this is when we were doing the Queen's Supreme Court on the internet.
Okay, got
This is
it.
before the TV show happened, any of that.
Okay.
And I said, I'm not really making any money from it. But I did understand at that time that my following was starting to grow, because some of them were grandfathering in from her. And because my following was growing,
Like me with you.
right, the book sales started increasing, and then I started doing my Patreon. And so it was just like a byproduct, right?
Yeah.
But the day to day, because like I literally would go to her house sometimes on Sunday, and I'd spend the night.
Because y'all were working that?
Because she'd be like, well, we need to put together the show, and this was after Kaya left. Now we are completely off of seasonal depression.
No, we're actually not.
Okay.
Like, we're talking about how these outside things influence.
Right.
So
It informs your decisions.
That's right.
Your choices. So
and feeds your depression.
right. So it felt like it was taking up so much of my time, and and I was just like, I'm really getting distracted from what I want to be doing, and just this, that, and the third. Say all of that to say, he said to me, Craig, just give her some time. He said, she's still trying to build the show. Just work with her and just give her some time. And if I had left, I would have never been on that reality show. Like all of these things that have helped push me.
So do you feel like...
I don't feel any guilt, but what I'm saying is...
No, that's not what I was going to ask. Do you feel, because he gave you that good, savvy advice, that you owe him something in...
I don't feel that I owe him anything, but I do feel like I would have probably done something for him. And that's
But do you not feel like you would have arrived at that same decision on your own?
I don't know, because I was really close to telling her, girl, I can't do this no more. Okay. And he said, just hang in there, Craig. He said, once things really start moving, she'll pay you more.
But
But
so,
like we hadn't started taking the Queen's Supreme Court on the road yet.
but you don't think that we, meaning his circle of friends,
Mhm.
have given him
Oh,
similar
for
that
sure.
should have it should have set him on a different course.
Where he made different choices,
That's
and he
right.
wouldn't be in the position he's
That's
in now,
right.
for sure. No, I definitely think that, but I'm just saying, I just felt like had it not been for him, now that doesn't mean that the universe wouldn't have sent
I
some
was
other
going to
force
say, right, yeah,
to say,
to intervene.
right,
That's
sit
right.
your ass here.
Right.
I believe that whatever was meant to be was meant to be.
That's
but
right.
my point is, we hadn't taken the show on the road yet. I ended up convincing her to take the show on the road, and we just started growing it, and we just made so much money on the road.
Yeah.
And then she started paying me more to do the Queen's Supreme Court, and then the TV show came, and then all these other things just started happening. You know what I mean? But then she taught me how to do Patreon.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
I put her onto the Goalie Gummies.
Right.
And like I said, I put her on to taking the show on the road and how to monetize the show that way.
Yeah.
So it was like an exchange for us.
Sure.
But going back to what you were saying about this guilt, so like my mom and dad were the only ones in my family. And my mother had 12 sisters and brothers.
Right.
My mother and dad were the only ones that owned a house.
Yeah.
The only ones that had cars for the longest time. They were the only ones that both had a car.
Right.
Like my aunt, she had a car, but her husband didn't have a car, or vice versa. And then, so like, I feel like I was so very fortunate as it relates to my cousins. I felt like I was more fortunate than my cousins. But I never felt any guilt like, ooh, well, I had a better life,
Yeah.
or I had more privilege than them. And, I never felt guilty about any of that.
Well, so I've had people that have made me feel guilty.
Really?
Yeah. And you know some of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That have made me feel as though I haven't had to do a lot in my life, which is true. Like, I'm an only child. I'm an only grandchild on both sides of my family. So, when people die in my family,
You did leave your stuff.
it's mine.
Right,
So,
Now, I do have a friend who felt that same kind of guilt. She inherited a lot of money because her husband was a football player. He died.
yeah.
And she said to me, she gave me this metaphor. She said, it's almost like I had my own dreams, my own vision, for what I wanted to do with my life. She said it was almost like I was at the relay line and with all of these other runners.
Yeah.
And they said, on your mark, get set. And instead of pulling the trigger and saying go, they just came over and gave me the trophy. I never even had to run the race. They just said, you won. She said, because she came into all of this money and she felt guilt.
I shared with you, and I've never shared this openly to a lot of people, is that like when Kim was here and she asked
My friend Kim.
your friend Kim, and she asked me something about Hampton, and I was like, I left in my junior year because I inherited money,
Right.
and I didn't want to finish school anymore. I didn't want to go to school anymore.
Mhm.
And I don't think, like, I understand, like, that's a choice that everybody doesn't get. Like, it
Right.
gives you a certain freedom to just kind of do whatever you want to do.
Right.
And now, granted, I wasn't a good steward with my money initially.
Uh-huh.
Like, and I took a lot of liberties, like living in New York, like partying and I did have a job. I wasn't just like living off money, but I was not making the best decision. Like, I'd wake up and go to Bergdorf's Goodman and spend like a couple $1,000s and just be, and then look up and have the bill, and I'd be like, oh, well, how am I gonna pay that?
My God.
So, it just was like, I don't think, anyway, I say all that to say that some of that comes with when you get older and you start looking backwards at the decisions you've made. I feel guilty for some of that.
Right.
Like, I also feel like I feel guilty, like I never finished school. Like, why would I not finish school?
Well, you can finish.
I know. And my parents say that to me all the time. My friends say that to me all the time. And it's just like, well, I don't know. And maybe I will one day.
Right.
I mean, to go into my junior year, like,
So the fuck what?
No,
Do it online.
No, what I'm saying is, like, to just
You'd be a non-traditional student.
at the finish line, right?
You'd be a non-traditional student.
Anyway, all of this to say, like, I'm acutely aware. Oh, so I do want to talk about some things to counteract your seasonal affect disorder, because some of the things that I do that help me cope with it our exercise. Like, remember after I had that epiphany and you were like, where are you? I was like, I'm at the gym trying to counteract this.
Mm-hmm.
So I will get on the treadmill regularly.
Get your endorphins.
That's right. I go for walks. I take baths. I go get a massage.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of things that you can do that help you or pull yourself out of it. And if you want to talk more about that, like, please feel free to message me or message Craig, and get me the information or whatever. And we can talk about it, because I do feel like it's a real thing. Like, a lot of people going into the holidays, like, there is a spirit of loneliness that weighs heavily on people. And I just don't think it's necessary. And I think you should check on people. Like, there's this thing that goes around that says, like, if you're feeling some sort of way, reach out. And it's like, no, that's wrong. Like, you're asking someone who is in a state of depression to reach out. Like, that's like saying somebody that's in a hole saying, well, let me know if you need some help climbing out of that hole.
Okay. Right. Here I come. Okay, I gotta go because we gotta run somewhere.
All right.
Coming now.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a good day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.